Consuming cannabis regularly is costing you something. It might be costing you in your mental health, your physical health, or your financial well-being. And oftentimes I find when people are under the delusion, the fog of cannabis substance use, it's hard to see exactly what that cost is. So in today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into many of the different areas of a person's life that I typically see cannabis substance use negatively impacting. And I say this after years of working with hundreds of high-performance individuals, helping them overcome cannabis substance use disorders. And I can tell you, time and time again, I hear the same thing from my clients. They say to me, I had no idea how negatively this was actually impacting me until I stopped. Because the reality is, you don't know what you don't know. If you wind up enjoying today's deep dive video or you're new here, my name's Dr. Frank, and we offer a science-backed method that has a 98% success rate at helping high-performance individuals quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours. Privately, without disrupting your public life and image, and without relapse. To learn more about that, I put a link in the video description. Let's dive into each of these things. If you're smoking weed regularly, it comes with a cost, okay? And you could apply this to almost any drug, but it's gonna cost you when it comes to your focus, when it comes to your physical and mental health, when it comes to missed opportunities, your consistency, your confidence. It might be your relationships. There's a cost to your future investments. And what we want to do today is take a deep dive to help you see just exactly how much consuming cannabis is costing you. Because every day you don't make a change, it's costing you something. And maybe today will be the day that ends. So first and foremost is your time. Time is the most valuable thing that we have in life, and it's the one thing that we can truly never get back. It's not just the time that you spent stoned that you're giving to cannabis, but it's the time that you spent thinking about buying the product. Should I text my plug? Should I go to a dispensary? Should I go to this shop or that shop? A lot of thought goes into getting high. A lot of time is spent on that. So there's the time thinking about the purchase. Then you have the time that you're spending thinking about smoking or quitting smoking. A lot of people watching this video are going to be in a position where they're struggling with a cannabis substance use disorder. And I want you to legitimately question, how much time have you spent being indecisive, suffering from decision fatigue, not being able to make a decision? And how much time has that taken away from other things in your life that you actually care about achieving and you actually care about doing? That's probably one of the most significant wastes of time that I see people struggle with when it comes to cannabis substance use. And cannabis is one of the most insidious drugs for this, because if you take like alcohol or pills or some other substances, people tend to crash out hard. Their physical health declines fast, their mental health declines fast, their business, their relationship declines fast. But with cannabis, it's a very, very, very slow bleed. So the amount of time that you can spend slowly bleeding from some cases like a major artery on your relationships, your businesses, your social connections, your physical health is crazy with cannabis. There's also the time that a lot of people are going to spend ruminating on the past. Cannabis is a drug of procrastination and rumination. I know from working with tons of clients over the years, something I personally experienced, when I would get high, I would just wind up in my head ruminating on things. In many cases, things that I had no control over or no ability to change. So how much time do you waste doing that on cannabis? And then, what do you do when you're high? For me, I spent a lot of time high, isolated, mindlessly scrolling on my phone, mindlessly snacking on food, some binge eating early on in my early cannabis substance use. That would then make me feel like crap. That would then take time away from the gym. Then I would not feel confident, so on and so forth. If you don't value your time, time will not value you. You and your time is worth something. And there is a good chance that you can connect a very real dollar amount to that. And if you don't feel that you are being paid what you're worth, your physical efforts, your mental efforts are worth, and you are constantly consuming cannabis, there might be a reason for that. If you do not value your time, time will not value you. I cannot tell you the amount of business professionals that I've worked with that simply by quitting cannabis started to discover how much more value they were actually giving to others in the world, and literally were directly able to increase their prices just because they broke that limiting belief that they weren't as valuable as they thought they were. And they were thinking that way because behind closed doors, they weren't valuing their time, so they weren't charging appropriately when it came to charging the time for others. So value your time, or I promise you, time won't value you. When it comes to cannabis, it's costing you financially, and especially from a time standpoint, right? I can't tell you the amount of things I've done with the time that I've saved not smoking weed. It feels like a lifetime of accomplishments, and I'm just getting started. But there's also very monetary things when it comes to cannabis. There's how much money you're spending on the drug on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis, okay? The amount of money you're spending at the dispensary or with your plug or whatever it may be. That money is money that's not being invested. You're losing out on the interest. When people say make your money work for you, cannabis is not making your money work for you. There's no return on your investment when it comes to consuming cannabis. There's no net positive return. It's not only the money that you spent, $50 a week, $100 a week, but that's money that you could have invested into, let's say, the S&P 500, maybe something more aggressive, earned a return of what? 7 to 12% a year, depending on the year. You now make money on that money, and then that money makes money on that money in the future. People often overlook this. They're like, I can afford to spend $50 a week, $400 a month, $2,000 a month on cannabis. Yes, many of the clients I work with can comfortably afford that, but they often don't consider the amount of interest, earned interest, that they're sacrificing on their investment, because you're making an investment when you buy cannabis, right? It's a crappy investment, but you're making an investment. They don't realize the amount of lost interest. There's also the money, and this was especially true of myself. I had a client who had enrolled in a coaching business for a cleaning company, and they paid something like, I can't remember, it was like $12,000 or $17,000 for this coaching program to take their already very profitable cleaning business to the next level. And they called me and they were like, Frank, I'm too stoned half of the time to even care to attend the courses that I purchased to pay for. I can't tell you how many apps, how many mentors, how many self-help things I was spending money on during my active cannabis substance use, and I just wasn't utilizing them to their full potential because I was spending so much time high. There is a massive amount of wasted self-development that occurs among high-performance, high-level professional cannabis consumers. I see it constantly. There's also the money that you're spending on cannabis that wasn't, maybe invested into stocks or real estate or something like that, but it's money that you've now not invested into building your own skill set, your own business, your own side hustle. And who knows what that could be worth to you. Since stopping cannabis, we have a coaching company, we have a supplement company. My chiropractic practices have totally changed as far as how well those are doing, because I've been able to take that money and reinvest it into my own development and into the development of my side hustles and my businesses. And that has dramatically not only changed my life, the lives of literally thousands of other people, but also my family's life. I don't think you realize how much you're giving away financially when you're consuming cannabis. Cannabis, weed, is only going to give you a negative net return on your investment of your physical health, your mental health, and your finances. There is no positive net return. And then people will be like, why do I feel so crappy consuming cannabis? I don't understand. And I'm like, Because who wouldn't? Imagine putting your money into a stock and watching that stock dip lower and lower and lower and lower year after year. There's no way you are going to feel good about that investment. There's no way. Consistency, reliability, and follow-up. Your consistency, your ability to follow up with other people, your reliability, how others perceive you as a reliable individual, is worth a lot, especially if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a medical doctor, and an attorney, whatever it may be. People count on that from you. Employees count on that from you. If you're a parent, your children, your significant other, they count on you for that. And that is worth something. It's worth more money. It's worth stronger relationships. It's worth more social connections. I can't tell you the amount of business opportunities I missed out on simply because I wasn't reliable and I didn't have good follow-up. And a large portion of that was directly correlated to my cannabis and my other substance use disorders. And I bet if you paused right now and thought about it, you could probably think of a bunch of different opportunities and deals that you passed up just because you didn't have a good level of consistency, reliability, and follow-up. Now, here's the cool thing about this though. You can quit cannabis and now you have an opportunity in sobriety to develop that muscle of consistency, that muscle of reliability, that muscle of follow-through. Because getting sober requires consistency, reliability, and follow-up. How do you improve these things? Pick something that requires it, work on it, strengthen that muscle, and then apply it to other areas of your life. That's how this works. Now look, this could also be costing you from a family standpoint. As I said, you have family and friends who count on you and who rely on you. If you're not reliable, if you're not consistent, if you don't have good follow-up with them, that's eventually going to damage those relationships. And damaged relationships, especially if it's with a spouse or a significant other, can come with a heavy cost because that results in stress, and then that stress can creep into your business, it can creep into your mental health, into your physical health, and I've seen it destroy people. But I've also seen it be completely reversed just through quitting substances and overcoming substance use disorders. What is the cost of poor execution? That's the question that you have to start asking yourself. Cannabis is a drug of rumination and procrastination. It is costing you when it comes to your execution, your ability to take action. What is that actually worth to you? If you are a high performance individual, that cost is going to be significant. If you are a parent, a grandparent, that cost is going to be significant. From a confidence standpoint, being confident is worth something. There is value that comes with confidence. And a lot of times what I hear people say is, look, I've completely lost the ability to commit to myself. I've lost respect for my own word. I say I'm gonna do something, quit smoking weed, and then I don't follow through on that something, right? This hurts our confidence. What is the cost of low self-esteem? What is the cost of low self-confidence? What is that costing you in your relationships, in your business, in your mental health, in your physical health? That cost for people is, again, significant. It's a substantial cost. I can tell you this, respect starts with you. Inbound respect that you're receiving from other people, it's coming inbound to you. It starts with self-respect. And how do we develop self-respect? We start to develop confidence. How do we develop confidence? We start to stick to our own word. Once we start to respect ourselves more, our financial health, our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, whatever, our faith-based practice, whatever it may be, other people are going to pick up on that vibration and they are going to start to show you the respect that you probably know you deserve. Because chances are you are a brilliant, wonderful, smart individual, but that is being totally squashed by cannabis substance use or some other substance use disorder. There is a cost to not having self-respect. Speaking of, one of the costs of not respecting oneself is health. Health can be a significant cost that a person can incur if they don't have self-respect for how they treat their body and how they treat their mind. Health related to substance use, the cost of that comes in many ways. There's the co-pays that you're spending on your doctor visits, right? Smoking a bunch of cannabis, maybe you're not at a good weight, maybe you got high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever it may be, because you're just smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, vaping all day long, working 12-hour days because you work super hard. But like, that's not good. That lifestyle is going to cost you. And quite literally, it's going to cost you at your primary care doctor's office, your cardiologist's office, your dental health. I had tons of dental oral hygiene problems from smoking, chewing tobacco, consuming cannabis, right? Drinking energy drinks all day long because I was so drained from smoking cannabis and vaping nicotine all day long. I needed energy drinks to keep me up. It damaged my teeth, my oral health, right? You're literally spending money not only on the drug, but now you're spending money at doctor's offices. Even worse, you're spending time there. You're taking yourself out of your family environment, away from your kids, away from your family, away from the things that you actually want to be doing in life, and you're sitting in some doctor's waiting room for 2.5 hours related to a problem that could have been completely preventable. I see this all the time. There was once working in my own private practice, and I was heavy on the vapes and the cigarettes and the chewing tobacco, and I was brushing my teeth in my office, and I spit out the toothpaste and I saw blood. So I freaked out. I called my dentist. It was a Saturday morning. I had a full day of patients lined up, and I was like, look, I got to get in to see you because I had a massive amount of health anxiety related to the decisions I was making in my life. I was like, I'm worried I have mouth cancer. He was like, Frank, we've done this a million times. You don't have mouth cancer. I was like, I don't care. You have to see me. I'll pay the fee for the emergency visit. He was like, look, it's a Sunday morning. I don't work today. It's going to be $500 for the visit and then the cost of the exam. So I was like, fine, no problem. I'm freaking out. So I go in, my dentist sees me. At the end of the day, it cost me like $800 and all my patients that I canceled that morning, right? Making me now unreliable, not committed, not following through. For him to tell me I had a popcorn kernel stuck in my mouth from snacking on popcorn the night prior while I was sitting at home stoned, scrolling on my phone. I don't think people realize how significant that is if that behavior would have continued over the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life. Not only are you spending money on healthcare costs, but it's quite literally those healthcare expenses, that time being spent on health-related anxiety is taking time away with your kids, time away with your wife, time away from developing that next chapter of your life. If you don't have kids and you don't have a relationship and that's what you want, it's taking time away from your business. The mental bandwidth that declining health sucks out of a person is absolutely significant, and you have to recognize this. What about the mental focus? What are you doing when you're high? This is a question worth considering. Are you someone who's productive? Or are you more inclined to snack on junk food, to watch adult media content, doom scroll on TikTok, or go on Instagram and compare yourself to other people? Oh, I wish I was as rich as that person. I wish I had what they had. Well, you don't, because you're sitting on your phone stoned, staring at something that you don't even know is real on an Instagram story. I'm sorry, that's just reality in a lot of cases. Then they start to ruminate on past things that they can't change versus being focused on a future that you can quite literally create for yourself. And then what happens to the decision making, right? Consuming cannabis doesn't just damage your mental clarity during the time you're high. But if you're like me, I would always suffer from that weed hangover the next day. I'd have that fogginess when I wake up. That impacts your ability to make decisions that may be important for you and your family's future, for you and the future of your business, the future of your side hustle, the future of your career. Imagine what you would be capable of if you just had that 4, 5, 6 hours a day that's being wasted on cannabis to dedicated mental clarity and mental focus. Imagine what you could accomplish with an extra, call it hour to 5 hours a day of dedicated mental focus and clarity. Imagine how that could change your life and your family's life, the life of your business, things that you actually care about. Because in all reality, if you're watching this video, you don't care about cannabis anymore, but there is something else in life that you're trying to achieve. There's some potential that you're trying to live up to, and that's what you should be focused on. And again, if that's you, if you are a high performance individual, you like taking action, you have goals, you have objectives you want to meet, we have a science-backed method that helps people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours privately, without disrupting their public life or image, without ongoing group meetings, without a public display of your substance use. And we made it specifically for high-level professionals. You can learn about that with the link in the video description or the link in the pinned comment. I also want you to consider the opportunity cost and the missed or damaged relationship cost that you have to endure when you're consuming cannabis. I have worked with a number of individuals where their significant other, the person that they are married to, does not support their substance use, right? Because they've seen the negative effects of it. And then that puts a significant strain on the relationship. And then that relationship strain carries over into that person's business life because they're worried about constantly arguing with their wife, or they're worried about letting their kids down. And then that it just subconsciously rots into every aspect of a person's life. Your relationships, your connections are what lead to opportunities. For a lot of people, cannabis becomes a drug of isolation. If you are isolating, if you're not getting out there, you're not putting yourself out there, no one's going to know who you are. And if no one knows who you are, you're just missing opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. How many opportunities has cannabis cost you? You probably don't know, just like I didn't, because you don't know what you don't know. I only was able to figure this out after I quit cannabis, put myself out there, and started to grasp the opportunities that life was presenting to me because I was now putting myself in the right place at the right time. How many relations has cannabis damaged in your life? Because trust me, those damaged relationships come with a significant amount of strain or stress. I think you really have to start to consider how many ways cannabis might actually be costing you. Because a lot of people I work with, and trust me, I was people, say, look, you know, I can afford 50 bucks a week, 100 bucks a week, 200 bucks a week on cannabis, $3,000 a month on cannabis, right? It's not a big deal for me. I'm doing well. Well, look, it goes far beyond the money that you are spending on that drug, because I believe you are capable of significantly more than you may even realize at this moment. If we just dialed in, if we just started to hit your potential. Look, I've worked with a lot of people over the years and they all say the same thing. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I attached a video right here that talks a little bit about the different character traits that I've seen people develop after stopping the consumption of cannabis. Character traits that would likely be very beneficial to you. So why don't you follow me right into that next video so you can start to get psyched up about making a rational decision to stop consuming a drug that's only giving you a net negative return. I'll see you in that next video.